Hey everyone, Cooper here, host of the fine podcast you're listening to. I just want to let you know that the episode you clicked on has a format that is very heavily inspired by a podcast called The Bookening. To be clear, our thoughts and opinions in this episode are our own, but the format is very similar to this podcast. I just wanted to give you a heads up and give credit where it is due. With that out of the way, enjoy the show. Coming up next, Booking It reads The Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Booking It. I am your humble and eloquent host, Cooper Cobbs, and I'm really excited to be talking about Lord of the Rings today with my three good friends, Tanner Lewis.
Three nerdy friends like me, Tanner Lewis.
No, Tanner's the only nerd friend I have. That's Isaiah over there.
Oh, I am not a nerd.
And of course, we got the cynic, Matthew.
Howdy.
Well, guys, how you guys doing today?
Just dandy.
Better than yesterday.
Great.
Great. Well, Matthew, you ready to get your inner cynic on as we talk about the greatest piece of fantasy literature ever to be written?
I agree with the first part, not the second part.
I agree with the second part, not the first part.
What is a cynic? Is that a good thing, by the way? Is it like a
Oh
Jedi?
my-
I don't
no,
know.
Matthew, a cynic is... Oh my...
How'd you know? I thought I was keeping that a good secret.
No, it's funny. I said touche in our group chat the other day, and Matthew was like, "I don't even want to know what that means." I'm like,
Oh,
"It just
yeah.
means a good point in French." I don't
No,
know
you're acknowledging a hit in fencing.
Okay. To be
It's-
fair,
well, it's kind of like
I
a-
know what touche means. I did not know that's what it
comeback.
was when you spelled it like that.
Oh, okay.
I did
What
not know what
did you
that
think
word
it
was
was?
when you spelled it. I've never seen touche spelled out, I guess.
Poor Matthew. Poor Matthew. Maybe he doesn't
But anyway,
read enough
Matthew,
books.
To answer your first question, a cynic is someone who is
No, I don't actually care.
I
The way
guess
you're using
cynics
it, I'm
call
guessing it was
themselves
Decently
no,
good, like
well,
not Jedi.
they call
but,
them
like,
no, they call
wizard.
themselves realists. They're very antagonistic towards things.
Aggies.
Real.
No, antagonistic.
Oh.
I'm gonna look up the definition.
How
This
come
is
every
great.
time anyone says something, I say, this
Okay,
is
cynic.
great.
Oh, that's.
I think it's time to push up my imaginary glasses.
So essentially, you're a person who. Okay, well, this is not what. Okay, it's been
Dude,
the
I
real
literally don't
definition
care.
does
Let's
not
just
describe
move
you,
on.
but
Let's move on to
I
the
could say
best
inner
piece of
critic.
literature of all time.
fantasy literature.
Fantasy literature.
I would say best piece of literature.
It
I
is
said best
not
piece of
the
fantasy
best piece.
literature.
That's what I
Okay.
meant to say. I slipped.
All right,
Okay,
Matthew,
okay.
let's
Cooper,
pick on
what's
you.
the best piece of literature?
The Hobbit. No,
Pilgrim's
no,
Progress.
no, not Pilgrim's Progress for sure.
The Bible.
Yes, the Bible.
There
obviously.
you go. All right. Now, you wanted to pick on me or something? Cross-examine me?
Yes.
Something?
Oh,
give,
yeah.
Give your baggage and your
blah,
opening
blah,
thoughts.
baggage. So, read The Hobbit, wasn't thrilled. Read The Hobbit again, wasn't
Cross-examine me?
thrilled. Fast forward a few months. Read Lord of the Rings, still haven't finished it. Read like half of the first book. And, yeah.
Still isn't thrilled.
I am more thrilled than The Hobbit, though, so far.
Oh, really?
That's actually impressive. I'm
Wait,
I'm
really?
surprised about
I
this.
like that.
If
I
you're
take
thrilled
that as
right
a step in the right direction.
is weird.
if you're thrilled right now, just wait for the end of the third book.
No, I said I'm not
Well-
thrilled. I'm just more thrilled than The Hobbit.
Yeah. The last part of Fellowship is probably the best part. All right. Isaiah, what are your thoughts and baggage? Baggage first.
Basically, I never heard of Lord of the Rings, so I was probably like 10. And that's whenever I read The Hobbit, because some friends told me about it, or whatever. And then I read Lord of the Rings after The Hobbit and did not like it at all.
The only reason you read it was so you could watch the movies. Yeah.
Actually, yes.
What a not nerd.
I still haven't seen the Lord of the
Uh,
Rings movies.
Yeah,
you.
maybe we should all.
That's
I
like
mean,
12
I don't know.
hours of my life I'm never going to get back, though.
I mean,
If you watch the extended edition, yeah. If the theatrical version is just a normal movie.
dude, the theatrical is 3 hours long. What do you mean a normal movie?
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
I own the theatrical. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, because extended
I'll
is
get back
4
to you.
hours.
All right. Tanner, baggage and thoughts.
Baggage. So, I started The Hobbit at age 9 or 10, something like that. I can only remember one time I was reading it.
Good job.
It was at the in the car on this way to this barbecue place that I've never been to after that. But I started The Hobbit. I read The Hobbit all the way through, and then Mom told me that I was not allowed to read The Lord of the Rings yet. So
Why?
I don't remember why. She had a long list of reasons, which I do not remember, even though she did read them all out loud to me.
Interesting.
Yes, but wasn't allowed to read it, so waited, I think it was 2 years after I was 11 or 12, something in between that range, and finally got permission to read it, read The Hobbit again before going back to The Lord of the Rings, and then started The Fellowship and got all the way through The Fellowship and halfway into the second book, and then set it down and didn't read it for a year until I was about 12 and a half, 13, and then picked up the second book again about 13ish, read all the way through the second book, and then I think it might have been 6 months ago that I actually finished The Lord of the Rings.
Also, guys,
Wow.
Isaiah is just texting us. The theatrical versions, are you sure these are the theatrical and not the extended?
They are, yeah, because if it was extended, it would say for me to play it. We
Okay.
only own the
Well,
extended.
all of the theatrical versions
Ha.
are ranging from 2 hours and 58 minutes
3 hours
to
or
3
over.
hours and 20 minutes. So
Boom.
Matthew, you are correct in saying those are 12 hours. They're like,
Bilbo
not gonna
looks
get
so
back.
weird. What the heck?
No, it's 9 hours.
Yeah, they're not as entertaining, but we can talk about
Bro,
the movies.
wait,
another time.
Bilbo,
There's
you
no
mean
picture
Frodo.
of Bilbo. That is Frodo.
Well, whatever. The doe
Yeah.
dude.
Frodo in Fellowship
Is
of
that
the
a
Ring,
wand?
he's the second one
That
on the
looks
left.
wildly
The
interesting.
one in the middle
That
is
is a
Pippin.
sword.
Dang.
No, it's a sword.
Cool.
Pay
The one in the middle
attention.
is Pippin. The one with the sword is
Peg leg?
Frodo.
Hey guys, we're talking about Lord of the Rings.
Yes, we're talking about the movie cover for Fellowship
Yeah.
of the Ring.
We can talk about this
What
somewhere else. All right,
not nerds? Let's move on.
so, I give my thoughts and baggage real fast. So,
Elephants.
my baggage, read The Hobbits.
What
Matthew,
baggage?
are you trying to derail this episode?
He's totally trying to derail it.
We have
For yeah, for you guys listening, this is our second time
yeah,
recording
it's
it.
Matthew
'cause it
derailed
got
it
out of
about
hand
5
in the
minutes
first one.
through. We're a little farther than that now, but I'm still on edge.
That was really funny
Anyway.
though.
Okay, let me get to my baggage and thoughts.
I'm the Grinch who stole the podcast.
Stop it. So my baggage is I read The Hobbit around I think it was 8 at the time, and I was in what I like to call my mid-kid life crisis, where
Wow.
I only read like bad fantasy books or something like stuff like that.
Define
my
bad
dad-
fantasy books.
The Neptune Project.
Bad literature. That's sci-fi, but yes, something of that nature. Fantasy that was not quality literature, didn't really have anything good or nutritious that I could get from it. That's what I define as bad. And then my dad took me to the local library after he had finished watching the Hobbit movies and gave me The Hobbit. It's like, hey, those movies were good. I'm sure you'll like this book. He read me the first chapter, and then I finished the book myself. The Hobbit got way better as it went along. I don't remember being really in love with it at the time. And then after that, I liked it enough to start reading Lord of the Rings. If I could go back, I probably would have told myself to stop and wait till I was a little older. Mainly because, not because of anything content-wise, but because of I would enjoy it more and appreciate it more when I was older. So I made it through a third of the way to Return of the King, and I bailed because I just could not get through. But I like telling people that I had read Lord of the Rings. And so then, fast forward about 3 years ago, I started reading it again. I just read The Hobbit again, and I absolutely loved it this time through. And so I was like, you know what? Let's give LOTR another try. And so I read it again.
You're too lazy to say Lord of the Rings?
Yes, I read it, and I enjoyed it. Probably not as much as I do now, but I enjoyed it. And then I got some new copies over COVID. And by the way, my Fellowship copy drives me nuts. I ordered it, and it was like in India. But the thing is, the cover design. There's like this engraving thing that they imprint into the book, and it's off centered.
Oh.
And the thing is, that'd be okay, but there's a yellow circle that's not imprinted that's centered, and so the gold thing
man.
is off centered, and it looks really weird. But besides that, I read it again, and I absolutely love Lord of the Rings. And since then, I've been a huge fan, and I hate anybody who is not a huge fan.
So you hate Matthew?
So you hate books, but you love
You
books,
hate
but
me
you
now?
hate people? Is that what you're saying?
Man, Cooper.
No. I hate the part of the person that doesn't like.
No,
this
you
book.
literally just
I'll
said you
rephrase
hate the
that.
person.
So you're saying you hate
I
me?
said I rephrased it. I rephrased
He
it.
loves me.
Okay, what do you love
be
about a
quiet.
book so much?
Well, for one, this book has superb writing. I think even Isaiah and Matthew will agree with that. So it's great writing. Second of all, it's got some great one-liners, great wisdom. It's got some great characters. It's got a great story, and it makes me just kind of, I don't know. It gives me like wonder sometimes. It is just when I'm reading something like Lord of the Rings or reading Lord of the Rings, and then there's this line that Tolkien says, they're looking up at the stars, and the stars were not our stars, and it just kind of gives you the chills. That's kind of what I like so much
Not
about
really.
Lord of the Rings. Stop being such a party pooper.
I
That's
actually
what I really
agree
like
with
about Lord
that.
of the
I agree with that.
Of course you do.
Matthew and Isaiah, besides Lord of the Rings being boring to you, what do you not like about this?
That was basically it. I mean, it's boring. It's hard to read.
So you would agree that the characters are
Takes
good?
forever.
Okay, if he cut out all the extremely small details that are completely pointless in the whole movie or book, it'd be great.
Okay, like what?
Which basically cut out an entire book. There's a lot of stuff that are just kind of pointless, like extreme details about every single little thing.
Like what? Give me an
I
example.
don't know, anytime they go somewhere, he gives a detail about every person in the room or the person they're talking to, the room they're in. Why do you need all
But
the
you
detail?
can't.
You can say what's in the room or what it looks like, but you can't, you don't have to say, there was this teeny little, feather on the ground right here that's completely pointless.
Here's the thing. Here's what I respect about that. See, that's where you and me get off on this, Isaiah. I respect that about Tolkien because I now coming in, I'm not seeing everything that Tolkien's seeing in his mind if he's not putting it down on the page. That's what I love about Tolkien. He can successfully put what he is thinking down in words onto a page and effectively describe the room I am standing in right now, giving me a perfect description of everything that's happening, therefore enveloping me in the story.
I think the beauty of a lot of fantasy books, though, is that, including Harry Potter, but not limited to, is that they allow a lot of room for imagination for little details like that. Like, what shape is this room? Well, how does it connect to the other rooms? Or, not even rooms and buildings, not just maps, but people, how they connect with other people, their personalities. There's a lot of imagination there, and you get to know the whole world in your own perspective, and I think that's great. And this doesn't allow a lot of room for that. That's the only thing. And
Okay.
it's also unnecessary and frankly boring to read.
I'm going to give
So,
this
yeah.
point to the Matthew and Isaiah team. Okay, but don't cheer yet. I'm going to explain why.
Let's go.
So, I think that Tolkien's writing is excellent, and I do think his description is good. I do agree, however, that he does occasionally go overboard. Like Isaiah likes to point out,
Occasionally.
the 1 or 2 pages that he spends describing them walking through Farmer Maggot's field, that's a little excessive. However, I'm not willing to give Matthew the fact that he doesn't. Okay, so I will agree that a lot of good authors will say, hey, just give one little detail and let the other person's brain fill in the rest. And I like that, but I think that Tolkien, like Tanner says, he does a great job describing everything for me. So I think he does leave something to the imagination, but I do agree that sometimes it can get a little dense. I will say that there are some boring parts in these books, but I think that it gets better every time that you read it. I've gotten less and less bored with these books every time I've read them. So I think that he
agree.
does go overboard
Cooper,
sometimes.
This is my third time reading it.
Yeah.
This is my third time reading it, and I'm still as bored as I was.
That's because you're not respecting the writing, Isaiah. You're looking for everything bad in it now. You're not coming into it with an open mind like it's the first time you've read it.
That's true. But anyway, I will say this time I'm reading it a lot closer than I have in the past.
Same.
And so I read a lot closer. and there were so many good lines that I just, I'm sad because a lot of people won't read as close as me and Tanner are because it's boring, and I do kind of blame that on Tolkien because he's got some great lines in here, but nobody really seems to find them on their first pass through because, like Matthew said, they're trying to skim the parts, right? There's the part when, I like this part when Frodo and Sam are talking after they've met the elves for the first time, and everybody's kind of, skimming this part. You're not, you're there. It was like the first 4 chapters. Remember, they meet the elves on the way to Crickhollow?
Yeah.
Oh, those elves.
Yeah, and Frodo's trying to convince Sam to not go or something, or trying to go back to the Shire. And then Frodo says, or Sam says, sorry, well, there's something I have to do before I die, and it lies ahead and not back in the Shire. And that's a great line. It's kind of foreshadowing, and it's also telling that Sam had something to do. But I've never found that line before because I haven't been reading as close. So I will agree that Tolkien does overdo it sometimes. But I still like him nonetheless.
Nice.
Okay, that's out of the way. But now whatever we criticize about Tolkien's writing, he is hilarious. He is a great, witty writer. Do you guys agree with that?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so here's an example. Where is it? Oh yes. Okay, this is the scene where he's giving out presents after he's left for Lobelia Sackville Baggins as a present on a case of silver spoons. Lola believed that she had acquired a good many of his spoons while he was away on his former journey. Lobelia knew this quite well. When she arrived later on in the day, she took the point at once, but she also took the spoons. That's little funny things like that. That he is just so witty.
Yeah. Or like in The Hobbit at the beginning, whenever Bilbo says good morning to Gandalf, and he says, by saying good morning, do you mean that this morning is good, or that you wish me to have a good morning, or blah, blah,
yeah,
blah,
exactly.
whatever else he says.
And I can't tell you how many times Mom reading The Hobbit out loud to my sisters just laughed and underlined something like she does. It's just funny things like that. Also, I think this book does a great job with the Shire. I think maybe you can criticize the Hobbit movies for a lot of stuff. You can criticize them for the Shire and the music that goes along with it. So I think that I brought that to this book, and it made it some better. But I really liked the little Hobbit. We don't get to spend a lot of time with Hobbits and the Shire and the Hobbit, so I really liked everything that he did with the Shire here. So Chapter 2, the big exposition dump, where he explains the whole history of the ring.
Okay, that part was kind of interesting.
Only
because of Gollum. Only because of Gollum.
Okay, so what exactly did you like about it?
I'm going to say that I'd kind of skimmed over that part and found when I first read it, I had originally skimmed over it and only read the important details, like the parts that stood out to you on the page, right? Mm-hmm. And then second time around, I went in more detail. I read the entire thing, but still, browsing, still not reading the entire thing. This third time, I've actually read through the entire thing, and after reading other Tolkien books, originally, it is extremely interesting to see how he tied in, I kid you not, at least 30 other books into this one book, and basically done this synopsis in chapter 2. I think that's why he has such amazing description, is because he's had so much
He knows every inch of his world.
Exactly. He's had so much time in his own mind to literally walk around this world and to figure out how everything works. So he's literally seeing where every rock and every twig is, and telling you that because he can see that so well. And same thing with the ring. He's had so much time to think up everything else and all the other background behind it. Like Sauron, he's not the most powerful guy out there. Surprise, surprise. Right. But all that background, he's got so much time to think about it and to understand it, and he's had so much writing that has gone behind the scenes into that most people don't read. That truly makes this thing that everybody does read remarkable to me, because I've seen all the behind the scenes, if you will, of that.
So Matthew, you said you liked Gollum in this chapter. Could you elaborate on that a little more?
I didn't really. I read this more than I read the rest because it was kind of interesting, and I kind of got the gist. It was going to be the backstory of Gollum, so I read the whole thing, and kind of interesting. Those things always catch my attention when something's especially a person is 1,000 years old and he's still there and like his full story. I don't know.
Yeah.
Good old Smeagol.
It was mildly interesting, and then it ended. So
Yeah, I agree. I think that I like like you when I was not really interested in these. I like this chapter and then the chapter of Elrond's council where they kind of explain the whole history of the ring too. That's kind of the stuff that was really most interesting to me because I'm the guy who has read like the 300-page appendix in Return of the King, and I liked it. So I really like learning about the history behind all of that stuff. Like Tanner, I love to connect the dots. So one other thing I like about the books compared to the movies is after this part, time slows really down. Like 17 years passes. In the movie, it's really fast. They get Frodo out the door. So I kind of like to see, kind of know that things are happening behind the scenes. That Gandalf's trying to work. Yeah, 17 years happens between Bilbo's party and then when Frodo finally leaves for Rivendell.
Because remember, he turned 33, and then he turned 50 when he left.
Right.
Yeah.
So I really like that it kind of slows down and it gives some time for, Gandalf to have been captured, have been finding out things about Gollum, and Sauron also be doing things. So I really like that about the books as well. Also, in chapter 2, sorry, you guys have to admit, Tolkien is great at one-liners and giving them to Gandalf to say wise things. All right.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, in this chapter, Frodo is like, oh, no, I wish Sauron hadn't returned in my time. And then Gandalf goes, so do all people who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. That was a line in this chapter.
what makes that a one-liner?
All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. And then there are some other ones, like not all who wander are lost, which is on the back of every single Jeep ever made, pretty much. They don't even know where it's from, but it's like an outdoor saying now. And then you have, later on, what was the other one? Oh, yes. I will not say do not weep, for not all tears are evil. And just stuff like that. It's just, he's really great at giving one-liners and then giving them to Gandalf as well. And then also, next time, throw yourself down the well and stuff, stuff like that. Okay. So, Matthew, what do you think about the ring race? And I'm picking on you a lot this episode, sorry. As a villain, were you interested in them? Did you think that they were kind of scary in terms of them? I know you weren't scared by them, but did you find them interesting or scary at all?
Sure. I mean, I'm not super interested in any of this, honestly. I just like it whenever they do like old history story things. So, I guess.
Yeah.
Just like it always amazes me, even if it's a really bad story, or not that this is necessarily, because I know you think it's a good story, but like take like X-Men Apocalypse for example. You probably haven't seen that movie. It's really dumb, but.
It kind of is.
There's like the one guy who's like he was a ruler during the Egyptian times, and then he like is like buried for like 1,000 years, and then he comes back. Like that's pretty interesting, even though the movie's really stupid. It's just the fact that he's been around that long. I'm like, wow, that guy's seen things.
Yeah.
Like how would like I don't know. I just have a hard time wrapping my mind around something like that, and I think it's interesting.
Interesting, yeah. All right, Tanner, Isaiah, what do you think about the ring wraiths?
I mean, I don't really know. I don't really know. I mean, like you said, to us, they're not like that scary or anything. But like, yeah, I really don't know what I think about them as much. Just weird, evil dudes.
Just weird, evil dudes
who can't be killed by men.
Wait, hold on. On the Hobbit movie, when that one like nature nerd like goes to the castle place, is that ghost guy with the sword?
Except they were in Ghost.
Yeah, those 9 dudes. Yeah. In Lord of the Rings, they actually have
ghosts,
armor,
but
and they say they can't
fight with swords.
Well, so they were ghosts, but now they're not. They're not ghosts anymore in Lord of the Rings. But I think that they're really awesome. Just gonna be honest. But I know, right?
I like them. I like that they move the story along. They keep things rolling, I guess. Here's the thing. In all the reading that I've done, I've never really found a whole lot on them, and I guess that's why I don't find them as interesting as, let's say, Ents or things like that. Like, I think there are more interesting things in The Lord of the Rings than the Ring Wraiths, just because there's more history behind those things.
Do any of y'all know how to speak Hobbit? I mean, Lord of the Ringsians or whatever language that is.
I don't know how to speak Elvish.
Tolkien actually made like the Elvish
language. He made Elvish language. He made Black speech as well. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I tried to learn Elvish for like a month, and then I failed so bad. That would be an interesting language to learn, way better than Latin. I mean, way better than Latin. We could have our own little secret language that we can talk in.
From here on to where they meet Aragorn for the first time, I was kind of a little out of it, especially Tom Bombadil. Let's talk about Tom Bombadil.
Oh my
So-
gosh, that idiot!
Why?
I'm just
Why?
like, why,
What the heck?
Tolkien?
It's like a quarter of the book. Them with just.
Well, so you have 3 chapters that got cut from the movie that I'm actually okay with them getting cut. Like,
Thank you.
Tom Bombadil house, like, first of all, there's no point. Doesn't add anything to the story. Second of all,
Nothing.
it's the most
period.
boring part. They just sing songs for the entire time, and then when they get beaten up by the what do you call them, the Barrow Wights, they just call Tom Bombadil and he
tree.
comes and saves them, and then
I
then
literally
later on,
don't
the
get
only
the point of
only
this
mention
guy.
of Tom Bombadil is they literally waste like a whole page explaining him away on why they can't give the ring to him. So it makes no sense to me.
Here's the one thing. There's one reason why I think Tolkien added this. He had this whole history behind guys that were like this Tom Bombadil guy, and he had this in, I believe it was either the Silmarillion or Beren and Luthien. And the Silmarillion's a collection of Elvish stories and stories about hobbits, and then
I heard they're way more descriptive and boring than Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
Is that true?
I've heard that they're boring.
you kind of have to push through them and find the interesting facts. And then Beren and Luthien's basically this Elvish love story. It gets referenced a lot in the books. But basically he had them in both of those, like these guys that were like Tom Bombadil, and I think he just wanted to add them just to add them. But I still don't get it, why he had to. There was no reason that he had to. He just wanted to. So stupid. I mean, that's the one thing that I don't like about this book and what he added to this book. It's the portion that gets on my nerves the most. Other than 2 pages of walking through a field.
Okay, so briefly, what do you guys think about Aragorn? Do you like him? Do you think he was as regal as the book described him?
I liked him.
Oh, yeah, why?
I love Strider. Let's say that. I'm going to have to use Strider because I hate having to... I always trip up when I try and say Aragorn, whatever you want to call him. Strider's
Aragorn
way...
is a fantasy novel.
Strider's way easier to say. I wanted to say something, but I'm not going to spoil it for Matthew. So basically, I like him because there's a history behind him. I'll bring this in more in the other books because we'll get to learn more about his history. But I really like him because the history of things that... Oh, man. Matthew, you really don't care, do you? He's the king of Minas Tirith. And,
I don't even know what you just said.
Exactly. But I really like...
He's basically an heir to a throne.
Yeah, of like...
Of some place called Minas Tirith.
Yeah, basically like
Or however they
everywhere.
pronounce it.
He's the king of everywhere. But...
And he has control over a ghost army. I mean, that's pretty
I know,
sick.
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it makes you want to throw up. So sick.
What? Haha.
Oh my gosh.
Haha.
But I really like the history behind all the kings of Minas Tirith and all that stuff that's behind that. So that's where I like...
Wait, how do you pronounce it?
I don't know, it's like
Minas... Isn't it Minas Tirith?
Yeah, Minas Tirith or something like that.
something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Minas Tirith.
Alright, I think that about wraps up our discussion of Book 1. You guys have anything else to say?
Part 1 of book
Good
1.
riddance.
Well, remember
Just like 5 more episodes
To go.
Yeah, remember, there are 2 books meant to make up Fellowship.
Well,
That's what I meant. Book
technically,
one of
Fellowship is a book. It's
It's
more
complicated.
like part 1 and
Well,
part 2
Fellowship-
of book 1.
I think Fellowship is
Complicated.
part 1, and then the 2 books are the 2 books that make up part 1.
So A and B.
Yeah. Anyway.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, basically.
Here's
And then we're doing episodes 2 on each. So we're doing A little 1 and A and B little 1 and A
Wait,
little
what?
2 and B little
No,
2
no, no.
for the A and B's,
No, no.
which make up the part 1 of the 3 parts.
What?
No, we're doing
that cleared it
episodes
up.
on
That's
that.
not what
No,
we're doing.
we just
We
got
cut
through
all
book
this out.
1.
That's not
Anyway.
what we're doing.
No, book 1 is split up into 2 books inside of it, or like 2 parts of
Okay,
the
so
book.
the Fellowship
Why
of...
would
If
you
you go
bring
on
that
Lord of the
up,
Rings,
though?
Fellowship of the Ring.
Why would you bring that up?
No, because we're doing Fellowship of the Ring part 1, where we're talking only about book 1, in
Yes,
Fellowship
that's
of the
not
Ring.
complicated. That's
Part
what we've
two is
always
about the
done for
second
every
half
book
of book
series you've ever done.
Okay, we're just ending this discussion
That's
right
not
now.
even complicated.
Okay, we're ending this discussion.
That's not what it is.
All right.
Okay.
But yes, Matthew's going to be even more annoyed halfway through the two towers. Oh, you're gonna love it.
Probably. Wait till you get to the end.
All right, here we go.
Oh yeah.
We do some donor shoutouts, please. So, Tanner, what does someone do if they want a donor shoutout?
They would go to patreon.com/bookinit and they would choose any of our tiers that are $5 and up.
That's right. Let's do some donor shoutouts. So I say a donor, and you guys say,
Don't do a character.
I'm not gonna do character. You guys say a line from. No, do a line from the book. Just open up the book and choose a line.
What?
Yes, sir.
I don't have the book
Okay.
with me.
Oh, well, Tanner, I'm sure you have enough lines memorized. Okay, Isaiah, you get Nana.
Not all who wonder are lost.
Nice. All right, Tanner, Van Peppy and Wayla.
Oh darn it. I was trying to get to one, but this is the one that I left at. 3 rings for the Elven Kings Under the Sky.
Ah, nice. All right, Matthew, is he his grandparents?
Wait, was that your
Yeah.
line?
That's what Gandalf said on page 101.
You know what? I'm just gonna read them all. Isaiah's grandparents, Mr. and Mr. Raetsky, Isaiah's uncle Sebi, Aunt Jenny and Uncle Sam, Isaiah's cousins Moses and Zara, and Chris. Thank you so much for donating. Please donate. If you can't, please make sure to leave a rating and a review. And also go check out our movie podcast, The Screening. We're reviewing Star Wars right now, which is really fun.
Oh, yeah.
And
Way
yeah,
better
make
than
sure you
this.
leave a rating. Yeah, make sure you leave a rating and review, and we'll see you next time.
Keep on booking it.